moving on to our next session, I'm really excited to invite Anu, the director at Flipkart US R&D Center, to kick off a very interesting Q&A session on futuristic applications of AI in e-commerce, along with Dr. Kamelia, Chief Algorithms and Analytics Officer at Google. Let me introduce Kamelia and Anu before we start. There we go. Yes. So Dr. Kamelia is the head of the Retail and Consumer Solutions AI and Engineering in Google Cloud AI, where she leads applied artificial intelligence and machine learning teams focused on solving retailers' problems. Prior to Google, Kamelia was the Executive Vice President, Chief Algorithms and Analytics Officer, and board member for Overstock.com. She joined Overstock after several years at Etsy, where she worked with different product teams from across several platforms to integrate analytics, ML, and AI algorithms throughout the organization. Kamelia holds a PhD and an MSc in the computer science and ML from Drexel University and has published several papers in scientific journals. She serves on several boards, including the JED Foundation, Initiative of Analytics and Data Science Standards, Retail Management Institute at Santa Clara University, Overstock.com formerly, and Women of MENA in Technology. And joining her is Anusua, who we call Anu. So she's the research director at Flipkart's US R&D Center, and she's an experienced leader working on advanced deep learning and artificial intelligence applications in conversation AI, NLP, and computer vision. She provides leadership on complex technical issues, and prior to joining Flipkart, she's held positions with Microsoft Research, University of Washington, UT, Austin, and University of Utah. I think we have a very cool session in store for us. Let's hand over the session to Anu and Kamelia. The screen is all yours.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's event. I am Anu. I'm the research director for the Flipkart US R&D Center. And today I have with me Kamelia. Welcome, Kamelia. Thank you for your time today. It will be great if you can, introduce yourself for our audience.
Yeah, absolutely. Great meeting you, everyone. And thank you, Anu, for introducing me. I'm Kamelia Aryafar. I'm the Senior Engineering Director and Head of Google Cloud AI Retail Solutions. Really excited to be here and talk to all of you folks about some of the advancements that we are doing here in Google in the field of AI, some of the solutions we are building, and a little bit about my background also and my journey into the field of AI.
Thank you so much for your time today, Kamelia. I wanted, to ask you for our audience, right? It will be great if you have a fascinating profile. It will be great if you can just walk us through your journey and how you ended up, working in Google and doing what you do every day.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's such a great question. Maybe I'll share a little bit about my journey and explain how I ended up where I ended up. Super interesting. So I have always had a passion for the field of AI just because the possibilities are so endless, and it's just such a fascinating concept to be able to use machines without being explicitly programmed, be able to do tasks that we usually think of as human tasks. So that has always been very appealing to me. I decided to move over to US and pursue my PhD in computer science in AI, very much focused on audio and video and image processing, which is super interesting at that time to me. And because of that, I've also always looked into search a little bit. So part of my dissertation for my PhD was around visual search. And I've always liked to see the results of the work that I'm doing in the hands of, real audience, like really experimenting with it with real users. So I learned about this company called Etsy at that time. It was more of a startup. So I decided to join them and move over as a hands-on data scientist myself. And slowly kind of like took a bigger role. I was more interested in leadership and, like really moving the teams towards like strategic priorities. I moved to Overstock.com shortly after that, after Etsy's IPO. to manage and lead all of the AI analytics and a lot of the engineering efforts across different areas. And that was very rewarding because you get to work with users, you get to work with really talented employees on the team, and you really get to deliver results to the end user, which is at the end of the day what I really cared about. And I decided that it's time for me actually to look into scaling of that a little bit, and where do we have scale better than Google? So that's why I joined Google, to actually take that to the next step and really see how I can build enterprise AI solutions that can help other retailers. Now, what I've learned from Etsy, what I've learned from Overstock, what I've learned from many, many studies and talking to great folks here, so like yourselves, and put that in the hands of, like many, many more retailers. So that's where I am right now. And what we are doing here at Google Cloud AI is really building that scalable enterprise-ready solutions for all of the users and all of the retailers out there.
Wow, what a wonderful journey, right? Yeah, it's such a learning that you bring onto the table, and I'm so fortunate to kind of get some time and talk to you today. So, Google is working on a lot of cutting edge research and work. I wanted to specifically ask you on some of the most, impactful problems that you have been working in your team. What are some of the customer pain points that you see? If you could share some of those things with us.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think the most important customer pain points that I try to focus on is actually getting impact from AI. And I've seen this time and again in retailers, is that there's a lot of excitement around AI. We do want to move the needle with AI, but how do we actually go about selecting and prioritizing that area that really makes a difference with the power of artificial intelligence? Like, how can we go about selecting that one or two areas? Because at the end of the day, we are limited resources, retailers are limited resources, right? So it's really important to pick that right area to focus on, especially because AI is such a big departure from classic software development, right? Because there's experimentation and iteration required. So it's very important to have that area strategically selected so the organizations overall can see benefit from AI and then continue to invest in other areas of AI, right? So that has been one of the customer pain points. A lot of my discussions with the customers are around that how should we go about selecting that area? And we have tried to map our solutions and our offerings to really solve that customer pain points, right? So I give you an example, like one of the biggest offerings we have is product discovery, which is centered around how do we help the users of a retailer really find what they're inspired by, what they're looking for, what they're connecting to, be it through, like personalized emails, be it through, recommendation engines, be it through search engines, like all of that. And that's an area that we can make direct impact really quickly on, and retailers can see benefit from the value add of AI really quickly. So we are really focused on that intersection to really connect that pain point and really address that gap. So I think that's the majority of the area of the focus and the bulk of the pain points. There's, of course, things around reliability of services, high availability of services, that's really important too. But all of those to me are second compared to like this strategic prioritization exercise.
Yeah. How does Google Cloud, come into play into all of this? You talked a lot about, the scalability of the product and your customer pain points. So I wanted you to touch a little bit about and let us know like how the whole cloud, is helping out in that aspect.
Yeah, absolutely. And by Google Cloud, I assume you mean both cloud artificial intelligence and in addition to like cloud, like other types of offering like storage and compute. Absolutely. So I think that's actually a great and important topic, right? So I feel like maybe like 10, 15 years ago, we didn't have cloud providers, right? So a lot of things were on-prem. And that would provide a lot of challenges, even for AI, right? So if you, and I remember this from my own days, like training, like models on GPUs that you had to like, purchase your own GPU and like wire it up and like start like doing some things with it.
And all of those drivers.
Right. Yes, exactly, right? It's just super, super hard and it's different and time consuming, right? And when we have AI talent, we want them to be really focused on where the differentiation is, right? When they can spend the majority of the time on building things that really matters the most to the retailer, to the futuristic applications of AI, and to the bottom line of retail. So we want to free up their time from like some of the storage and compute and infrastructure side of like setting up things. And that's not just AI, like it's in many other aspects, right? So I feel like in that sense, cloud overall and Google Cloud in particular has revolutionized the field, that we have now these capabilities at our disposal that we can lift and shift these workloads to cloud and not worry about like dealing with on-prem or expansion, or how do we handle those, particularly in retail, for example, for instances like Black Friday, Cyber Monday. That's a holiday in US, for example, that's super popular. I'm sure there's parallels, you know, for other countries, that there's like surge of traffic and we need to handle that. So I think that part is very important. The second part is around AI solutions. It's again the same concept. I think AI talent it should be utilized very well, right? So we want data scientists, machine learning engineers, ML scientists really spend their time in where the differentiation is, both for the retailer and for the field overall, right? So I think that's where Google Cloud AI comes in. We have solutions built to really empower data scientists. Things like, for example, our AI platform, Vertex AI, that's built to actually help data scientists, you know, train models on top of, you know, let's say our demand forecasting, or our time series forecasting, for example, or with our, you know, like vision warehouse and things like that, like being able to solve problems, or even like full-on solutions so they can shift to other impactful areas like product discovery, for example. We have built things like retail search, for example, or retail recommendations AI, and that's to really free up the data scientists to be able to focus on the higher level problems, that what should be the objective function that I optimize for, as opposed to like really worrying about, you know, the details of like wiring the featureization to your modeling, for example. So I think those two aspects of cloud, and Google Cloud in particular, has really revolutionized the field.
Yeah, thank you for such an enlightening answer. I mean, I learned a lot just from your answer today, you know, especially, you know, the Vertex AI, we ourselves are kind of looking into it. So super fascinated with all the great products which are existing there, and how we can use it to build more efficient AI, right? One other, you know, thing which I wanted to, you know, talk about is the futuristic applications, like Flipkart, being the company that we are, kind of very innovative and kind of always at the tech forefront. We are trying to we are trying out various different innovative applications for, you know, improving the customer experience, the consumer experience. For example, we are trying to experiment with AR VR, right? So what are some of the futuristic applications Google is currently working on in the retailer space? If you can just enlighten us on that a little bit.
So that's what I really love about retail and the e-commerce and marketplaces. I think a lot of the retail companies, as you mentioned, like Flipkart, are truly tech companies, and they are at the forefront of innovation, not just in the retail space, but also in the AI space. And if you look at it, I think historically, a lot of the areas of machine learning community and AI community has been tested and piloted in e-commerce first. So when you look at areas from personalization, search, like recommender systems, to all the other areas around like deep learning, how can you take advantage of like images, for example, with deep learning, with visual signals, a lot of like document understanding for back office operation, to contact center solutions that really take advantage of large language models, for example. All of those have been tested and piloted in retail. Which makes retail really a ground for futuristic applications, not just to move retail forward, but also the entire field of AI. So I find that really, really fascinating. And within cloud AI and within Google, we are focusing on a lot of futuristic applications. Some of them are expanding on the existing capabilities, right? Like things like product discovery, for example, like what are the new ways for users to engage with different products on the retail and e-commerce platforms? How can we help the user really find what they're looking for, what they're inspired by better, right? So all of those, like they're existing products, but new ways at looking at them, like how can we help the retailers reinvent and revolutionize the existing journey? I think that's one whole set of like area of focus, right? So the areas around that is kind of in play. And then when you look at other areas like around, like store of future, for example, like how can we have, maybe like in-store intelligence with AI to be able to show people, like have a product discovery experience, for example, that's really smart in store. So what are some of those smart applications that we can have there? That's like a whole other bucket that we're looking into. So there's a lot going on. I'm super excited about that, about the futuristic applications, but I'm also really, like I said, I'm excited about what does that mean for the field of AI? Like, is it going to be like, because it's a feedback loop, right? What are we inventing in terms of applications, and what are we giving back to the community, and how are we taking advantage of the absolute state of the art work, for example, large language models that we have had recently, or vision models that we have had, like how can we take them and then embed them within one of our applications? So we're looking at it like from both type of lenses.
Awesome. That's great. Now let's move away a little bit, from the retail and the consumer and Google and Flipkart, just, focusing on the AI aspect of it and the community aspect of it, right? If I ask you to look at your crystal ball and your years of experience working in the field, how do you see the field evolving in AI specifically?
Yes, that's a great question. I think one of the main things that I'm gonna predict is that AI is gonna become a lot more accessible to a lot of different enterprises and a lot more users. I think if you look back maybe like 20 years ago, 15 years ago, maybe even 10 years ago, if you think about like things like deep learning, for example, they weren't as accessible, right? Some of it was hardware issues, some of it was skill set gaps, some of it was there were not good platforms. Like you said, you mentioned like CUDA and like the installing everything, like that's a really time consuming process, as you know. So all of that was what really meant was that there are few people who could access really like application development on top of AI. And what it meant was few enterprises or few types of companies were lucky enough to be able to tap into that kind of talent, that kind of tool set, and have that applications embedded within their products and their offerings. And I think that's about to change from how we offer products and how much AI is embedded in it, right, to actually what type of new products are going to be built purely with AI. I think all of those are about to change because of the scale of the infrastructure we have really available right now, right? With all of the processing power, all of the compute, all of the storage that we have at our disposal, in addition to the talent being able to shift on more, like meaningful areas of application development, as opposed to like worrying about the platform or the low level kind of like application settings. I think that's going to unlock a ton of value for a lot of enterprises. So we'll see a lot more applications, a lot more enterprises being able to use AI. It ties into, I recently had a talk at Next actually a couple of days ago. So my prediction was AI is going to be the primary force for moving to a 4-day work week, because a lot of these applications are going to be developed, because a lot of time would be freed up to focus on elsewhere, or like more targeted areas of focus. So I really think that's a reality that we are going to see with the power of AI. For the field of AI itself, I think we're going to see continuous development in some of the fields that we have seen like a lot more progress happening recently, like deep learning. I think that would be super interesting, and one of the areas that's going to continue to develop, and we are going to continue seeing more and more scalable, realistic applications from.
Great, great. And as you rightly mentioned, there are going to be societal impacts, right? As we know, and, people are going to become more and more efficient and start focusing on more, solving more core problems. And just AI is going to make them, help them along that way. Wow, this has been a really, really engaging, chat. Any parting thoughts, Kamelia?
Just that I'm super excited about AI and future AI and future of retail and e-commerce. I think all of you folks are having like a really front row seat to some of the really revolutionary work that's happening, being at Flipkart as part of such a revolutionary tech company. So it's super interesting to see how you leverage some of these capabilities that we have or you're building in-house, and how that can change and shape the future of Flipkart, but also the future of the field of AI. That really excites me. And I am super excited to overall watch the field and see what happens with AI. I think we have come a long way over the past 20 years. It's just beginning, right? The AI is in infancy, really. So it will be super interesting to watch what happens over the next 20 years. And hopefully we can all share and learn from each other in this journey and see where we end up.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for your time, Kamelia. This has been a wonderful, wonderful chat. I learned so much today, and I hope that we keep working together as part of building up the community for AI together. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Anu, and thank you for inviting me. I hope you enjoyed the conference.
Thank you so much, Anu, for such an engaging session. And thank you, Kamelia, for sharing your fascinating insights with us. It was wonderful to have both of you join us. Thank you very much.